Hey everyone, it's Emma. I'm so excited to share a little story with you today. Something that happened just this morning and honestly, it completely made my day. You see, I almost missed my bus. Like, really almost missed it. I was running late, completely lost in my own world, making a last-minute dash out the door with my coffee in hand. And just as I reached the corner, I saw it pulling away from the stop. My heart sank for a second. I thought, oh no, not again. But then, a surge of something, maybe adrenaline, maybe just plain stubbornness, kicked in, and I took off running. It was a full-on sprint, backpack bouncing, coffee sloshing, and me just laughing at the absurdity of it all. And you know what? I made it. Just barely, mind you, but I caught the next bus. The feeling of triumph was incredible. It turned my whole morning around. So, let's begin our exciting journey of English improvement together. Remember, new videos are released daily focusing on English speaking and listening skills to help you improve and enjoy your learning journey. Okay, so grab a cuppa, settle in, because I have a story for you. It's not some grand adventure, no epic tale of daring do, but it's my story, and it's stuck with me. It's about a simple bike ride, just a little jaunt to a nearby village. But you know how sometimes the simplest things end up being the most memorable. It was a Saturday, I think. Late summer, the kind where the air is thick with the promise of autumn, but the sun still holds a summery bite. You know, that feeling where you're not quite ready to let go of summer dresses and sandals, but you're also kind of excited about cozy sweaters and pumpkin spice everything? Yeah, that kind of day. I woke up feeling restless. I'd been cooped up all week working, staring at a screen. You know the drill, and I desperately needed a dose of fresh air, a change of scenery, anything. So, I decided, on a whim, to bike to Oakhaven. It's this tiny little village, nestled in the valley about 10 miles from where I live. I'd heard whispers about its charming tea room and the antique shop overflowing with forgotten treasures, and it felt like the perfect escape. Now, I'm not exactly what you'd call a cyclist. My bike is this old, slightly rusty thing I inherited from my aunt. It's sturdy enough, but let's just say it has character. The gears sometimes have a mind of their own, the brakes squeak like a startled mouse, and the bell, well, the bell is purely decorative at this point. But hey, it gets me from A to B, most of the time. So, I packed a small bag with some water, a granola bar, because, priorities, my camera, and a good book. Just in case I felt like finding a quiet spot to read. I put on my comfiest sneakers, a light jacket, and off I went. The first part of the ride was pure bliss. Smooth roads, dappled sunlight filtering through the trees, the scent of freshly cut grass mingling with the sweetness of honeysuckle. I felt like I was gliding, not cycling. You know that feeling of absolute freedom you get sometimes? Like you could just keep going, forever? It was like that. I passed fields of sunflowers, their faces tilted towards the sun, and cows lazily grazing in the pastures. It was idyllic. Then came the hills. Oh, the hills. I hadn't really considered the terrain when planning this little adventure. Oakhaven, as it turns out, is nestled in a valley, which means getting there involves a series of rather steep climbs. Let's just say my aunt's trusty steed and I weren't exactly on the best of terms for a while there. My legs started burning, my breath came in ragged gasps, and I'm pretty sure I could hear the rusty gears groaning in protest. There was one particular hill, I swear it went on forever. I thought I was going to have to abandon the bike and just walk the rest of the way. Remember that granola bar I packed? Yeah, that became my emergency fuel. I stopped by the side of the road, under the shade of a giant oak tree, and devoured it. It tasted like victory, or at least the promise of victory. Refueled and slightly less winded, I hopped back on the bike and, surprisingly, made it to the top. The view from up there was breathtaking. Rolling hills, patchwork fields, and in the distance, the rooftops of Oakhaven, bathed in the afternoon sun. It felt worth it. All the huffing and puffing, the burning muscles, the near bike abandonment, it was all worth it for that view. The rest of the ride was, thankfully, mostly downhill. I coasted along, the wind in my hair. Okay. Maybe more like a gentle breeze. But let's go with wind in my hair. Feeling like I was flying. Oakhaven was even more charming than I'd imagined. Tiny cottages with colorful gardens, cobblestone streets, and an air of peaceful tranquility. I locked my bike outside the tea room. Yes, it had a lock, a surprisingly sturdy one, and stepped inside. The tea room was everything I hoped it would be, cozy, quaint, and filled with the aroma of freshly baked scones. I ordered a pot of Earl Grey and a scone with clotted cream and jam, and found a table by the window. As I sipped my tea and watched the world go by, I realized how much I needed this. The quiet, the simplicity, the escape from the everyday hustle. It was like a reset button for my soul. After my tea and scone, I wandered through the village. Browsing the antique shop, I found a beautiful vintage teacup. I just had to have it. And just soaking in the atmosphere. Guess what happened next? I stumbled upon a farmer's market. It was small, just a few stalls set up in the village square, but the produce was incredible. I bought some fresh bread, local honey, and a bag of juicy peaches, feeling like I'd discovered a hidden treasure. The ride back was different. I was tired, yes, but it was a good tired. The kind of tired you feel after a day well spent. The hills didn't seem quite so daunting. The rusty gears didn't complain quite so much. Maybe it was the endorphins, maybe it was the peaches, or maybe it was just the sheer contentment I felt. I don't know. As I cycled back, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange. It was stunning. I stopped by the side of the road again, this time not out of exhaustion, but to capture the moment. I took a picture, but honestly, no picture could ever truly capture the beauty of that sunset. By the time I got home, I was exhausted, but happy. My legs ached, my face was flushed, and I had a slight sunburn, but I wouldn't have traded it for the world. That simple bike ride to Oakhaven, it wasn't just about the destination. It was about the journey. The unexpected challenges, the small discoveries, the quiet moments of reflection. It was about rediscovering the simple joy of slowing down, of appreciating the small things, and of reminding myself that sometimes, the best adventures are the ones you least expect. You know what I mean? It's funny, isn't it? How a simple bike ride can become a story you want to share. It wasn't anything grand, but it was mine. And sometimes, that's all that matters. Anyway, thanks for listening. Now, whose turn is it to make another cuppa? So, you want to hear about my art gallery adventure? Oh, it was a *day*. Let me tell you. One of those days that starts out normal enough, but then takes all these unexpected turns. Kinda like a good abstract painting, you know? You think you know where it's going, and then bam! It hits you with something totally different. It all started last Tuesday. I'd been feeling kinda blah lately. Stuck in a rut. So, I decided to shake things up a bit and spend the day soaking in some art. I figured it'd be inspiring, maybe even a little therapeutic. I grabbed my comfiest shoes, essential for gallery hopping, believe me, a big old tote bag, and headed out. My first stop was this tiny, hole-in-the-wall gallery tucked away on a side street. I almost missed it, it was so unassuming. But something about the vibrant splash of color in the window display drew me in. It was a collection of these incredibly intricate paper sculptures. They were delicate and ethereal, like frozen lace. I couldn't help but touch one gently. I know, you're not supposed to. And the paper felt surprisingly cool and smooth. The gallery owner, this sweet old lady with bright, inquisitive eyes, saw me admiring it. She started telling me about the artist, how she spent hours meticulously folding and shaping each piece. You could just hear the passion in her voice. It was contagious, you know? Suddenly, I felt this little spark of excitement, like maybe this day was going to be good after all. From there, I wandered over to a more modern gallery, all sleek white walls and minimalist vibes. The air smelled faintly of, well, I don't know how to describe it. New paint? Something sterile, almost. The current exhibition was all about digital art. Screens flickering with hypnotic patterns, interactive installations that responded to your movements. It was definitely a sensory overload. I'm not gonna lie, some of it was a bit over my head. Like, there was this one piece that was just a black screen with a single white pixel slowly moving across it. I stood there for a good 5 minutes trying to figure out the deeper meaning, you know? Maybe I'm just not sophisticated enough for that kind of art. But then, I stumbled upon this amazing interactive projection that transformed my silhouette into a swirling mass of stars and galaxies. That was pretty cool. I even took a goofy video of it to send to my friend, Lisa. She's a total art nerd, she would have loved it. By lunchtime, my stomach was rumbling louder than a construction site. Luckily, there was a cute little cafe just around the corner from the gallery. I grabbed a panini and a latte, and sat outside watching the people go by. It was a beautiful day, the sun warm on my face, a gentle breeze rustling the leaves. It's funny how sometimes the simplest things can be the most enjoyable, isn't it? After lunch, I decided to check out a photography exhibition I'd heard about. It was in this grand, old building with high ceilings and creaky wooden floors. The photographs were breathtaking, black and white portraits of everyday people, their faces etched with stories. I felt like I was looking into their souls, you know? There was this one photo of an elderly woman sitting on a park bench, her hands clasped in her lap, her gaze lost in the distance. I could almost feel the weight of her years, the wisdom in her eyes. It made me think about my own grandmother, and how much I missed her. I stood there for a long time, just absorbing the emotion of it all. It was a powerful experience, a little bittersweet. I was so lost in thought that I almost bumped into someone. "Oh, I'm so sorry," I stammered, turning to see, well, wouldn't you know it? It was David, a guy I'd gone to college with. I hadn't seen him in years. We chatted for a while, catching up on life, reminiscing about old times. It was so unexpected, and so lovely. He was actually there with his daughter, this adorable little girl with pigtails and a mischievous grin. She was fascinated by the photographs, asking all sorts of insightful questions. It was heartwarming to see her curiosity and enthusiasm. David and I ended up spending the rest of the afternoon together, exploring the gallery. We even went to another one after that, a smaller, independent gallery showcasing local artists. We found this hilarious sculpture made entirely of recycled bottle caps. It looked like a giant, colorful insect. David's daughter was absolutely obsessed with it. She kept giggling and pointing at it, saying it looked like a bottle cap bug. It was so infectious, we all started laughing. The day ended with us grabbing ice cream at a little gelato place near the park. As I watched David and his daughter laughing together, sharing a scoop of strawberry swirl, I felt this warm, fuzzy feeling inside. It wasn't just the sugar rush, I swear. It was this sense of connection, of shared joy. And it struck me how art, in all its forms, can bring people together in such unexpected ways. It can spark conversations, evoke emotions, and create memories. Walking home that evening, the city lights twinkling around me, I realized that my art therapy had worked wonders. I felt refreshed, inspired, and lighter, somehow. The blah feeling was gone, replaced by a quiet sense of contentment. It wasn't just about the art itself, though that was certainly a big part of it. It was about the unexpected encounters, the shared moments, the simple joys that had unfolded throughout the day. It was a reminder that sometimes, all you need is a little change of scenery, a little dose of beauty, and a little bit of human connection to reignite that spark within you. And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a bottle cap bug along the way. You know what I mean? It's the little things, right? The little things that make life a masterpiece. Hey everyone, learning a new language can feel like climbing a mountain, right? But remember, every day is a new beginning, never stop learning. Think about it. Each sunrise brings a fresh chance to try, to experiment, and to move a little closer to fluency. It's not about perfection, it's about progress, and every small step counts. You've already started, and that's amazing. Keep that fire burning. You will not believe what happened next. I discovered a super simple speaking practice that's actually fun. Just talk to yourself, alone or in front of a mirror. Honestly, it felt like magic. You can narrate your cooking, plan your day out loud, or even have a pretend conversation with yourself. It's a low-pressure way to get comfortable hearing your own voice speaking English, and it builds confidence, bit by bit. Try it while you're getting ready in the morning. It's a great way to start your day. How to talk on a call, you ask? I know, right? Sometimes, I totally get it. Do you also find yourself understanding what others say in English, but hesitate when it's your turn to speak? It's like your mind goes blank and the words just won't come out. Trust me, you are not alone. Phone calls can be nerve-wracking. But even practicing a simple greeting or introducing yourself aloud can make a world of difference. Just imagine how awesome it will feel when you nail that next call. And you know what? Thinking about this reminded me of the first time I heard someone say, serendipity. It was so beautiful and unexpected, it stuck with me. What's your favorite phrase in English? I'd love to hear what words or expressions resonate with you and why. Let's share in the comments below. So, you know how sometimes you just need a day to yourself? A day where you can just breathe? Well, last Tuesday, I decided I needed exactly that. And where better to escape the city chaos than the botanical gardens? I'd been meaning to go for ages. Literally, ages. But life, you know how it is, always seemed to get in the way. But not this Tuesday. This Tuesday, I belong to the ferns and the flowers. I packed a little picnic basket, some sandwiches, a juicy pear, a bottle of iced tea, you know, the essentials, and hopped on the bus. The journey itself was almost meditative. I watched the city slowly morph into suburbs, then into rolling green hills. I even saw a couple of deer grazing in a field. It felt like I was already miles away from the hustle and bustle, even though it was only a half-hour ride. Stepping off the bus, the first thing that hit me was the scent. It was this incredible mix of damp earth, blooming flowers, and something almost spicy. I couldn't quite place it, but it was intoxicating. I took a deep breath, letting it fill my lungs. Ah, this was exactly what I needed. I paid my entrance fee, grabbed a map, though I secretly hoped I'd get a little lost, and ventured in. The entrance was framed by these enormous, ancient-looking trees. Their branches reached up and intertwined like they were sharing secrets, creating this beautiful canopy overhead. It felt like stepping into a different world. First, I wandered through the rose garden. Oh my goodness, the roses. Every color imaginable, from the palest blush pink to the deepest, richest crimson. I bent down to inhale the fragrance of one particularly beautiful velvety red rose, and guess what? A tiny bumblebee popped out. It startled me for a second, but then I just giggled. It buzzed around my head for a moment before flitting off to another bloom. It felt like a little welcome from the garden itself. After the roses, I found myself in the Japanese garden. It was so serene. There was a little pond with koi fish swimming lazily amongst the lily pads, a small waterfall trickling over smooth stones, and these perfectly raked gravel paths. I sat on a bench, just listening to the gentle splash of the water and the rustling of the bamboo in the breeze. I could have stayed there for hours, honestly. It was so peaceful, so calming. Do you ever have those moments where you just feel completely present? Like, utterly and completely in the moment? That's how I felt sitting there. No worries, no to-do lists. Just the quiet beauty of the garden. It was magical. From the Japanese garden, I followed a winding path that led me into a tropical greenhouse. The air inside was thick and humid, a stark contrast to the crisp autumn air outside. Giant palm leaves brushed against my shoulders, orchids in every shade of purple and pink hung from the ceiling, and the air was filled with the chirping of unseen birds. It felt like stepping into a jungle. I even saw a tiny, bright green lizard clinging to a banana leaf. I spent ages in the greenhouse, just mesmerized by the sheer variety of plants. There were these enormous, spiky cacti, delicate ferns that unfurled like delicate lace, and flowers I'd never even seen before. One of them, a vibrant orange bloom with strange, almost alien-looking tendrils, absolutely captivated me. I tried to find its name on the little plaque, but it was smudged. I made a mental note to ask one of the gardeners later, but, you know me, I completely forgot. Typical. Eventually, my stomach started rumbling, reminding me of the picnic basket I'd been lugging around. I found a lovely little spot under a weeping willow, spread out my blanket, and enjoyed my lunch. The sun dappled through the leaves, creating this beautiful mosaic of light and shadow on the grass. It was perfect. A squirrel even came and sat a few feet away, watching me with curious eyes. I tossed it a small piece of my pear, and it scampered off, delighted with its prize. After lunch, I explored a bit more. I got delightfully lost in the herb garden, inhaling the scent of rosemary, thyme, and mint. I stumbled upon a hidden grove of redwood trees that made me feel incredibly small and insignificant in the best possible way. I even accidentally stepped into a muddy patch, nearly losing my shoe in the process. It made me laugh. You know, sometimes those little mishaps are the things you remember most. As the afternoon wore on, I noticed the light starting to change. The golden hour was approaching, and the garden was bathed in this warm, honey-colored glow. It was absolutely breathtaking. I found a bench overlooking a field of wildflowers and just sat there, watching the sun slowly sink below the horizon. The air was filled with the sound of crickets chirping and the distant hoot of an owl. It was the perfect ending to a perfect day. Walking back to the bus stop, I felt renewed, refreshed, like I'd shed all the stress and worries of the city and reconnected with something bigger. Something more peaceful. You know what I mean? It wasn't just about the beautiful flowers and the tranquil scenery. It was about taking the time to slow down, to breathe, to appreciate the simple beauty of the natural world. And honestly, that's something we all need sometimes, isn't it? A little escape. A little reminder that there's more to life than deadlines and emails and the constant buzz of the city. And sometimes, the best place to find that reminder is amongst the leaves and petals of a botanical garden. So, if you ever find yourself feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or just in need of a little peace and quiet, I highly recommend a trip to your local botanical gardens. You might just be surprised at what you discover about the garden, and maybe even about yourself. Okay, so, grab a cuppa, settle in, because I have a story to tell you. It's about a day, just one day, but it's etched in my memory so vividly. It was a day I decided to become a tourist in my own city, you know? A day dedicated to exploring the architecture, the bones of the place I called home but had never truly seen. It was a Saturday, I think, early spring. That kind of day where the air is crisp but the sun promises warmth. Remember those days? There's a certain kind of light then, almost theatrical, that makes everything look sharper, more defined. I'd been feeling this restlessness, I guess. Like I was sleepwalking through my own life. So, I decided to shake things up. No plans, no itinerary, just me and my city. I started in the old town, a labyrinth of cobbled streets and buildings that whispered stories from centuries past. The first stop was the cathedral, a Gothic behemoth I'd walked past 1,000 times without ever really looking up. Have you ever done that? Ignored something magnificent because it's always there? Well, that day, I stopped. I craned my neck, and honestly, my jaw dropped. The detail. Gargoyles leering down, intricate stone carvings, stained glass windows exploding with color. It was breathtaking. I spent ages just wandering inside, the air thick with incense and the hush of reverence. The sunlight filtering through the stained glass painted the stone floor in shifting patterns of ruby, sapphire, and emerald. It felt sacred, somehow. From the cathedral, I drifted down a narrow lane, drawn by the sound of a street musician. He was playing a melancholic tune on a battered violin, and it resonated perfectly with the slightly bittersweet mood I was in. I gave him a few coins and just listened, letting the music wash over me. It's funny, isn't it? How a chance encounter can change the course of your day. That's what happened next. I noticed a tiny, almost hidden doorway next to where the musician was playing. It was tucked beneath an archway, overshadowed by a sprawling wisteria vine. Curiosity piqued, I pushed it open. Guess what? It led to the most charming little courtyard, a secret garden in the heart of the city. Tables were scattered under blossoming fruit trees, the air buzzing with bees. An old woman was watering plants in terracotta pots, humming softly to herself. It felt like stepping into another world, a peaceful haven hidden from the bustle of the city. I sat there for a while, sipping a strong, sweet coffee from a nearby cafe, just soaking it all in. The rest of the day unfolded like that, a series of delightful discoveries. I stumbled upon a hidden bookshop, its shelves overflowing with dusty tomes and the scent of old paper. I chatted with the owner, a man with twinkling eyes and a seemingly endless supply of literary anecdotes. I found a tiny art gallery showcasing the work of local artists, vibrant splashes of color against whitewashed walls. I even climbed the bell tower of a medieval church, my legs burning with the effort. But the panoramic view from the top, oh, it was worth it. The city sprawled beneath me, a tapestry of terracotta roofs, church spires, and green spaces. I could hear the distant hum of traffic, the laughter of children playing in a park, the faint clang of a tram bell. It felt like the city was breathing beneath me, a living, pulsing organism. But not everything was picture perfect, you know. There were moments of frustration too. I got completely lost at one point, wandering down identical narrow streets, convinced I was going in circles. My phone died, which, in hindsight, was probably a blessing in disguise. I ended up asking for directions from an old man sitting on a stoop, feeding pigeons. He didn't speak a word of English, and my attempts at his language were, well, let's just say they were comical. But somehow, through a combination of gestures, smiles, and shared laughter, we managed to communicate. He pointed me in the right direction, and I finally found my way back to a familiar landmark. It was a small moment, but it reminded me of the beauty of human connection, even when words fail us. As the afternoon wore on, I started to feel a pang of melancholy, I think. It was the realization that I had been so busy rushing through life, so caught up in my own little world, that I had missed so much beauty right on my doorstep. It was a bittersweet feeling, a mix of joy at what I had discovered and a tinge of regret for all the lost time. My last stop was a little park overlooking the river. The sun was starting to set, painting the sky in hues of orange, pink, and purple. I sat on a bench, watching the boats glide by, the water reflecting the city lights. It was quiet, peaceful. And then, the most unexpected thing happened. A group of street performers, dressed in elaborate costumes, appeared out of nowhere and began to perform. They danced and sang, their voices echoing across the water. It was spontaneous, joyful, and utterly captivating. People gathered around, clapping and cheering. And for a moment, all the worries, all the anxieties, all the little things that had been bothering me, they just faded away. I was just present, in that moment, connected to the city, to the people around me, to something bigger than myself. Walking home that evening, I felt different, lighter, somehow, like I had shed a layer of skin, peeled back the familiar to reveal something new and vibrant beneath. The city felt different too, not just a place I lived in, but a place I knew, a place I had explored, a place that had surprised and delighted me. It was like falling in love all over again. You know, it's funny how sometimes the greatest adventures are found not in far-off lands, but right where we are, in the everyday, the overlooked, the seemingly mundane. It's about taking the time to look up, to wander down a hidden alley, to talk to a stranger, to open ourselves up to the unexpected. It's about rediscovering the magic in the ordinary. And that, my friend, is the story of my day exploring city architecture. A day I won't soon forget. Now, tell me, what adventures have you had lately? Hey everyone, learning a new language can feel like climbing a mountain, right? But you know what? Small efforts every day lead to big achievements. Think about it. Just like how a few words a day build up to fluent conversations, or how short practice sessions eventually make you feel confident speaking. Each little step forward, no matter how small, adds up to something amazing. You're already doing great just by being here and trying. One super fun and easy way to practice is chatting with a friend on a video call. Imagine this. You're both cooking dinner, or maybe going for a walk, and you just chat in English. It's so relaxed and natural, you'll almost forget you're practicing. And you know what? You will not believe how quickly your fluency improves when you're having fun and not even thinking about it. Now, I totally get it. How to talk at a store can be a little nerve-wracking, even when you understand what the cashier is saying. It's like your brain freezes, right? You know the words, but suddenly they disappear. It happens to the best of us. Trust me, you're not alone in feeling this way. It's a totally normal part of the learning process. Honestly, it felt like magic the first time I confidently ordered my coffee in English in a new city. It boosted my confidence so much. Speaking of new experiences, have you tried speaking English with a stranger? I remember once asking for directions in English, and the person was so kind and helpful. It was a small interaction, but it made my day. What about you? Share your experiences in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Okay, so, you know how sometimes you just need a day away from everything? Like, the walls of your apartment are closing in, your inbox is exploding, and the only thing you can hear is the relentless thump 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 of your own stressed out heartbeat? Well, that was me last Saturday. Completely frazzled. Fried. Done. So, I decided, right then and there, to escape. My sanctuary? The city parks. A whole day of them. Just me, some good shoes, and a desperate need for greenery. Now, I'm not exactly the outdoorsy type, right? Give me a cozy cafe over a hiking trail any day. But something about the idea of just wandering, of getting gloriously, wonderfully lost in nature within the city limits, it just called to me. So, I packed a little bag, you know, water bottle, a slightly squashed banana, classic, a book I'd been meaning to read for months, and headed out. My first stop? This tiny little park, practically hidden between two towering skyscrapers. Seriously, You could blink and miss it. It's called Pocket Park. How cute is that? And oh my goodness, the smell when I stepped inside. Like fresh cut grass and damp earth mixed with a faint hint of something sweet. Maybe honeysuckle? It was intoxicating. There was this tiny, gurgling fountain in the center, surrounded by these bright red benches, shockingly vibrant against all the green. I sat there for a bit, just listening. The city noise was muffled, almost distant. Instead, I heard birds chirping, actual birds. And the soft splash of the fountain. It was magical. You know those moments of quiet that just kind of seep into your soul? That was it. Feeling a little more centered, I moved on to my next destination, Riverside Park. Now, this one's a completely different vibe. Huge, sprawling, people everywhere, jogging, biking, walking dogs that looked suspiciously like fluffy clouds. I wandered along the path by the river, watching the boats go by. The sun was warm on my face, a gentle breeze ruffled my hair, and then, disaster. I tripped. Like, full on, arms flailing, almost face planted kind of tripped. Over a rogue tree root. Mortifying. Luckily, I caught myself. Barely, but I scraped my knee pretty badly. And, of course, a cute guy on a skateboard witnessed the whole thing. I wanted to disappear, just vanish into thin air. Instead, I mumbled an apology to the tree root and limped to a nearby bench, feeling incredibly clumsy. But you know what? As I sat there, dabbing at my scraped knee with a slightly crumpled tissue, because, of course, I'd forgotten band-aids, I started to laugh. I mean, really laugh. The whole situation was just so absurd. Me, on this grand adventure of self-discovery, brought down by a tree root. It was hilarious. And the scraped knee? Well, it became a battle scar, a funny little reminder of my epic clumsiness. After Riverside Park, I decided to get a little adventurous. I'd heard about this community garden tucked away in a quieter part of the city, and I was determined to find it. Now, getting there was a whole other story. Let's just say my sense of direction is questionable. I took 3 wrong turns, ended up in a dead end, and almost walked into a wall. Twice. I'm pretty sure a pigeon was judging me at one point. But eventually, after what felt like an eternity, I found it. And oh, my goodness. It was like stepping into a secret world. A riot of colors and scents. Sunflowers taller than me. Rows of vibrant vegetables. Herbs spilling out of their containers. Bees buzzing lazily. Butterflies flitting from flower to flower. It was a feast for the senses. There were people tending to their plots, chatting, laughing. It was such a peaceful, happy place. I wandered around for ages, just soaking it all in. I even bought a tiny pot of basil from one of the gardeners. It's sitting on my windowsill now, a little reminder of that hidden oasis. By late afternoon, I was starting to feel, well, you know how it is after a long day of walking? Like your feet are made of lead and your stomach is trying to eat itself. So, I headed to my final park destination, Central Park, the classic. I grabbed a hot dog from a street vendor, don't judge me. It was delicious. And found a spot on the great lawn to just be. I watched kids playing frisbee, couples strolling hand in hand, families having picnics. The sun was starting to set, casting this golden glow over everything. The sky was a canvas of pink and orange and purple. It was breathtaking. As I sat there, surrounded by the hum of the city, I realized something. My frantic heartbeat had calmed. The tightness in my chest had eased. The walls weren't closing in anymore. I'd found my escape, not in some far-off wilderness, but right here, in the heart of the city, amidst the trees and the flowers and the laughter. It wasn't just a day exploring city parks. It was a day of rediscovering myself, of finding peace in the unexpected, of embracing the little moments of joy, even the ones that involved tripping over tree roots and getting hopelessly lost. So, yeah, that was my day. A day of parks, of scraped knees, of hidden gardens, and stunning sunsets. A day of realizing that sometimes, the best adventures are the ones you find right in your own backyard. You know what I mean? It's funny how the simplest things can sometimes be the most profound. And who knew, right? City parks. My new unexpected escape. What about you? Where do you go when you need to escape? I'd love to hear your stories sometime, over a cup of tea, maybe? And perhaps we could bring that slightly squashed banana for good luck. Just kidding, unless? Winking face. Okay. So, you know how sometimes you just need to get away? Like, really, truly escape? That's exactly how I felt last week. Work had been intense, life had been a lot. So, I decided, right then and there, that I needed a day to myself. A day of pure, unadulterated coastal bliss. And, oh my goodness, it turned out to be exactly what the doctor ordered. I'd heard whispers about these incredible trails just south of Mendocino, clinging to the cliffs, overlooking the Pacific. They sounded like a dream, so I packed a backpack, water, snacks, a good book, you know, the essentials, and hit the road early, before the sun even thought about peeking over the horizon. The drive itself was pretty amazing. Winding roads, redwood forests. You could feel the stress melting away with every mile. The air started to smell different, too, that salty, fresh ocean air that just fills your lungs and makes you feel alive. You know that smell, right? I finally reached the trailhead, a little dirt patch tucked away off the highway. There were only a couple of other cars there, which was perfect. I grabbed my backpack, took a deep breath of that glorious ocean air, and started walking. The trail started off pretty gentle, meandering through some coastal scrub and wildflowers. The sun was just starting to climb higher, painting the sky in these soft pastel colors, pinks and oranges and purples. It was breathtaking. I could already hear the waves crashing against the rocks below, that rhythmic whooshing sound that's just so soothing. And then, the trail opened up. Suddenly, I was standing on the edge of the world. Okay, maybe not literally, but it felt like it. The cliffs dropped away sharply, revealing this stunning expanse of blue, stretching as far as the eye could see. The waves were crashing against the rocks below, sending up sprays of white foam. The wind was whipping through my hair, and I just stood there, completely mesmerized. I swear, I must have stood there for a good 10 minutes, just taking it all in. The sheer vastness of the ocean, the power of the waves, the rugged beauty of the cliffs. It was overwhelming in the best possible way. I felt so small, so insignificant, and yet so connected to something much larger than myself. I continued along the trail, which now hugged the cliff edge, offering these incredible panoramic views. The wildflowers were everywhere, bright yellow poppies, delicate purple lupins, and these tiny little white flowers that I couldn't identify but smelled like honey. The air was filled with the sound of the waves, the cries of seagulls, and the distant barking of seals. At one point, I stumbled upon this tiny hidden cove. It was accessible only by scrambling down a steep, rocky path, which, let me tell you, was a bit of an adventure. But it was so worth it. The cove was sheltered from the wind and the waves, and the water was this incredible turquoise color. I sat there for a while, just listening to the gentle lapping of the waves and watching the sunlight dance on the water. It was pure magic. Further down the trail, I noticed a group of people gathered near the edge of the cliff, pointing excitedly. Curiosity piqued, I joined them. And guess what? Whales. A pod of gray whales was migrating south, and we could see them spouting and breaching in the distance. It was incredible. I'd seen whales before, but never like this, so close to shore. Everyone was whispering and pointing and just awestruck. It was one of those moments where you realize just how amazing nature is. I walked for hours, completely lost in the beauty of it all. I stopped for lunch at a scenic overlook, perched on a rock with my legs dangling over the edge. The sandwich I'd packed tasted like the best sandwich I'd ever eaten, probably because of the view. Of course, no adventure is complete without a little mishap. Remember those steep, rocky paths I mentioned? Well, on my way back up from another hidden cove, yes, I found another one, I slipped. Nothing major, thankfully, but I did end up with a scraped knee and a slightly bruised ego. It made me laugh, though. You know, one of those, only me, moments. As the afternoon wore on, the light started to change, becoming softer and golden. The shadows stretched long across the cliffs, and the ocean took on this deep, rich blue hue. I found a quiet spot overlooking the water and sat down to read. But, honestly, I didn't read much. I was too captivated by the view, by the sound of the waves, by the feeling of the cool ocean breeze on my skin. I realized, sitting there, that I hadn't thought about work, or stress, or anything else that had been weighing me down, for hours. My mind was clear, my heart was full, and I felt truly at peace. That's the power of nature, isn't it? It has this incredible ability to heal and rejuvenate, to remind us of what's truly important. The walk back to the trailhead was bittersweet. I didn't want the day to end, but I also felt this sense of contentment, of having completely recharged my batteries. The sun was setting as I reached my car, painting the sky in these vibrant shades of orange and red. It was the perfect ending to a perfect day. Driving home, I felt different. Lighter, somehow. Refreshed. I knew that the stresses of life would still be there waiting for me, but I felt equipped to handle them, like I'd gained a new perspective. And that, my friend, is why I love exploring coastal trails. It's more than just a walk, it's an escape, a rejuvenation, a reminder of the beauty and wonder that surrounds us. You should try it sometime. You really should. You won't regret it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching and spending this time with me. It really means a lot to have you here. I'd love for you to follow, like, subscribe, and share this video so we can continue practicing English speaking and listening together every day. You know, before we go, it made me wonder, what are your plans for tomorrow? It is always so lovely to hear what everyone is thinking about, and sharing your plans is a great way to practice expressing yourself in English and connecting with everyone in the comments. So, share away. See you tomorrow, and remember to take care and keep practicing. Have a wonderful day.